Ward says, good to hear kids in you being fed in schools in Nova Scotia. Too bad that's being considered an extravagance in other places. It is too bad. It is absolutely too bad. I can't believe that it's a political issue. Like, feeding kids you're going to use feeding kids as a political issue, not just something we can do. On that note, something I'm not. This is probably too much information, but yesterday morning I was getting ready to go to synod, and I was doing my daily ablutions. And what I usually do is I just put a podcast on while I'm getting ready, right? When I'm brushing my beard and brushing my teeth and all that kind of stuff. And I think it was a debate. Charlie Kirk. You know who Charlie Kirk is. He was at Cambridge, I think, maybe Oxford. I don't know, some English university. Again, I wasn't really paying attention to what I was watching. I was just listening to it as I was doing the things that I needed to do in order to get out the door to go to work and go to those meetings. And he was talking with, apparently in the whole course of the video, he's debating like a room full of students, but a professor decided to speak up too. And the professor was talking to him about his observations of the war between Russia and Ukraine. These observations of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. And they were talking about, they were going sort of back and forth. And the professor was, I think, very, very correct in that Kirk is trying to speak out both sides of his mouth. But Charlie Kirk said something that was really, really fascinating. He said they were talking about how much the United States and how much Europe, ultimately, and other nations in the world have contributed to Ukraine's defense, contributed monetarily, whether that's in cash or in vehicles or in shells or whatever the case might be. They were talking about how much the world has contributed to Ukraine defending itself from Russia's aggression. And Kirk said something along the lines of, well, how much is enough? Meaning, haven't we done all that we could? Isn't it just time to give up? Right? Shouldn't we just throw in the towel? Isn't, like, we put $200 billion in, isn't that enough? When do we call it a day? Right? When do we say enough is enough? And that has stuck with me. And not just because of Ukraine, but just simply from, applying that to the various conversations that are being had in the world today. Here in Canada, housing's a great big issue. Lots of people are talking about housing. The new Prime Minister, Mark Carney, that's a big thing on his agenda. The other political parties have said it's a big thing on their agenda. But sadly, when it comes to it, often it seems like it boils down to, well, how much is enough? Like, should we spend more? I mean, we've already spent $1 billion on it. Isn't that enough? Shouldn't it just go away now? We can't cripple our economy on it. We can't give everything we have to this. It'll take us down. We see that when it comes in the U.S. right now, when it comes to things like the social safety net in the U.S., when it comes SNAP, when it comes to Medicaid, Medicare, when it comes to social security, like these things that's sort of all the rage now to talk about how the GOP spending bill, Trump's big beautiful bill that I guess in about 6 months he won't want any credit for, but how that big beautiful bill is going to cut this and it's going to cut that and da 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 da, because we've got to cut these programs. We're spending too much. We're taking on too much debt, and well, how much is when's enough? Like that seems to be kind of the bottom line argument. Yeah, we should take care of people. But when's enough? Yeah, we got to take care of our veterans, but when's enough? Yes, we don't want we don't want people to starve, but when's enough? Yeah, of course we don't want people dying in the streets. We want them to have access to a hospital or to a doctor. But come on, when's enough enough? Never. It's never enough. Speaking from a strictly Christian perspective, never enough. But if we keep doing it, we're going to bankrupt ourselves. Okay? It's never enough. We're not called to ever put a spending limit on taking care of our brothers and sisters. Ever. Jesus, one of the things about him, he rarely offers conditions to what he's saying. Right? Take care of the widows and the orphans. That's it. Just take care of the widows and the orphans. Forgive one another. Yeah, that's it. Right? Love your enemies. Pray for those who persecute you. That's it. That's the end of the sentence. It's rarely does he ever say, love your neighbor as yourself, until loving your neighbor as yourself costs more than 15% of your gross annual income. In that case, you can love them as somebody who's not yourself, right? That's not there. So from a strictly Christian perspective, when is enough enough? When everybody's full. When everybody has a home. When everybody has access to education, when everybody has access to clean water, when everybody has access to a doctor and medical coverage. When is enough enough? When nobody's hungry, when senior citizens aren't deciding between getting their medication this week or being warm. When is enough enough? When I don't have to choose if I'm going to eat or my kid's going to go to school with a full belly. When's enough enough for a Christian? When there's no more want. When there's no more need. When people aren't suffering. That's when enough enough is. And just for the record, I know somebody out there is going to say, but Jesus said you'd always have the poor. Yeah. So that tells us that the job's never done. That's what it boils down to. The job is never done. So when do we say, oh gosh, we've invested enough in Ukraine? We don't. They're trying to protect themselves. They're trying to preserve their country. They're trying to preserve their society. This isn't just, somebody, I don't know, being a bully. This isn't just Putin being a bully. This has turned into an existential threat for Ukraine. They give up, they will cease to exist. So when is enough enough? When there is no more need. When everybody is taken care of. That's when we can say enough is enough. Until then, again, from the Christian perspective, yes, we will always have the poor with us, Jesus says, to which I would encourage all of you to also recognize that means we won't ever stop working. And we should never expect that the day will come when we can say, enough is enough. Amen.